Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Chastity. Here we talk about beauty, entertainment, celebrities, books, movies, anime, TV shows, and kind of anything else that garners my attention this week. And today we're talking about The Ultimatum, and quite honestly, I watched the whole season last week, from episode 1 through 10, and I really wasn't planning on talking about the show. Even though the reunion, one specific aspect of it did make me uncomfortable, it wasn't enough to, sit in front of a camera. And it wasn't until yesterday, Monday, when Tiff released their video talking about their side of the reunion because they were not able to speak their truth, that it kind of stirred up a lot of emotions in me to talk about this, because I do feel like the producers of Ultimatum as well as the people at Netflix have an obligation to not make their viewers watch an abusive relationship play out right in front of their eyes. Now, if you don't know what The Ultimatum is, it is a Netflix original dating show where there is a group of couples and one partner in each relationship issues an ultimatum to their partner. And in this ultimatum, either we get married or we break up. They gather a group of couples, they mix and mingle, and then they re-partner with people within the group. And then they do a trial marriage for 3 weeks. And then they get back together with their original partner for 3 more weeks. And then after this a month and some change experience, they decide whether or not they're either going to stay with their original partners and get engaged, break up with their original partners and kind of move on, or end up with the person they spent those original 3 weeks with. And this season is the first time that they are doing queer couples, and the queer couples in question are lesbian couples. The trailer for this show actually came out at the end of the Love is Blind reunion, and I'm not gonna hold you, the Love is Blind reunion, the trailer they showed was booty cheeks. It looked so bland and so boring. That's why I didn't tap into the show when the episode started originally airing. It wasn't until I want to say episode 8 and everyone on my timeline was just going crazy about the ultimate queer love that I actually tapped in, because everyone was like, no, you don't understand. This is good reality TV drama. On this season of Ultimatum Queer Love, we do have 5 couples, and the couples go as named. We have Tiff and Mildred, Ray and Lexi, Yoli and Mel, Xander and Vanessa, and lastly Sam and Ozzy. I just want to say that there is a stark difference in the energy and vibe of the first 5 episodes versus the last 5 episodes. I feel like we do see a lot of breadcrumbs, but things just go from 0 to 100 once we get to episode 6, and then that reunion, nasty work. Now, we're going to be primarily talking about Tiff and Mildred, because that is the relationship that is the biggest problem. I feel like all the other relationships have regular, relationship issues, and what is happening with Tiff and Mildred is so intimate and so private that we should not have been able to spectate this. So within the first 5 episodes, I would say that Tiff and Mildred are your textbook toxic couple. They're always consistently fighting, and instead of sitting down and hashing out their issues and problems, they'll have sex instead, because somehow sex heals everything. But they never actually get to the root of their actual relationship issues. It's just fighting, kissing, fighting, fucking, fighting, fingering. That's it. No actual let's solve the issues in our relationships. But it didn't feel like it was anything out of the normal, quote unquote, for what a toxic relationship usually is. I feel like we don't really see how actually bad this relationship is until we get to the reunion, and then everything that happens with the fallout of this season. But for those first 5 episodes, they were very much so by the numbers toxic couple. So, like I mentioned, during the whole process of the show, they're supposed to, for those first 3 weeks, recouple. Tiff ends up partnering up with Sam. Now, their very first night, Tiff and Sam get into a unnecessarily awful fight. So the fight's about the fact that Tiff is a dog person, and they like their dog sleeping in bed with them, And Sam's like, I like dogs too, just not sleeping in bed with me. And what should have just been a conversation blows up into an really disproportionate fight. Like, Tiff is crying and screaming, and they're red in the face, and they're saying, I don't think you're a good person because you don't like dogs. And Sam's like, I do like dogs, I just don't want them in bed with me, which is fair. I personally, don't date dog or pet people for this exact reason. I don't believe animals should be in bed with you. I don't believe animals should be in the kitchen, especially when you're cooking. So I go out my way to not date animal people for that reason. But, can't really have the choice in this show. But she's just like, hey, this is my boundary. And Tiff just goes off the handle. It's very unnecessary. But this whole situation is great insight to see what Tiff and Mildred's relationship is. Because this lets you know that there are no disagreements in Tiff and Mildred's relationship. There's just fights to death. There is no reason why Tiff reacted the way they did if they had a normal, healthy relationship. This situation needed a conversation, not a fight. But Tiff is so used to every interaction being a fight. And then after they have this fight, I think Tiff has this realization that, like I said, everything does not need to be a fight. From that point forward, the next 3 weeks with Sam go by very pleasantly. I think they really didn't connect romantically, but they definitely connected emotionally, and then you can tell they created a great bond and friendship. And after that 3 weeks, Tiff and Sam, I think, gained the most out of anybody on this show, because I feel like their relationship that they had really exemplifies what this experiment is supposed to do, because they both left with really great skills to take back to their original relationships. So I feel like a lot of people were really trying to either fall for other people or keep the other person at arm's length, which I feel like both things are not good, especially when you're already in relationships. You're just trying to figure out, I don't know, I just feel like falling is messy, and then not really joining in the experience negates everything. But I feel like Tiff and Sam are exemplary of what is supposed to happen, because Tiff left the 3 weeks with Sam being a better communicator and being able to really articulate their feelings and wanting to be able to talk and not fight, and listen with your listening ears and not with your argumentative ears when your partner is talking with you. Versus Sam got a backbone. Sam very much so is not, I'm not going to argue with you, but I am going to stand my ground. I'm not going to yell, I'm not going to fight, but I will be heard. And I feel like they really left this experience as better people for their next relationships. Right, so we have Tiff going back to Mildred for the next 3 weeks, and on their very first night, when Tiff is trying to implement these good communication skills into their relationship with Mildred starts this huge ass fight. And she does that thing that toxic partners do, where you're asking them to, like, maybe not do something, and they get super dramatic and go, well, then I guess I'll just die. And it's like, that's not what I'm asking you. And so, like, Tiff is like, hey, we need to not talk over each other. We need to listen to each other speak and then respond, and stop talking over each other. And Mildred uses the excuse that they are Latina and therefore they can be an awful partner and not listen to you. That's essentially what she says, is that, like, I can't let you speak because I'm Latina and we talk over each other. And I'm like, I don't think being Latina is synonym for being an abusive partner. But okay, sure. I don't think cultural backgrounds are an excuse to be toxic partners. That's insane. That's crazy, actually. No, being Latina does not mean you get to be a bad partner. That is simply not how that works. but Tiff is trying, and Mildred just wants to fight. That is her thing. I think after seeing Mildred and Tiff be in their trial relationships, I think this really shows you who is the actual abusive person in this relationship. Because post the season, Mildred has been trying to slander Tiff and make Tiff out to be the abusive one. But there is a stark difference between Tiff and Sam's relationship and Mildred and Ozzy's relationship. So again, Tiff and Sam had that first original fight, but once Tiff was able to get the temperature of the relationship and realize every day isn't going to be a battle, completely mellowed out. And again, they got good communication skills, and Tiff and Sam both grew exponentially from being with each other versus Mildred and Ozzy. I feel like during the season, a lot of us blamed a lot of Ozzy's behavior on Ozzy. But now, after watching the reunion and hearing Tiff's side, I fully believe Ozzy when they said at the reunion that they did not feel safe around Mildred. Especially with what we know now, it is not shocking that they did not, with the background that Ozzy has with their family and that type of emotional abuse. I fully understand why they felt so unsafe around Mildred that they had to leave. That entire relationship between Mildred and Ozzy was completely toxic. They fought 24/7. You see how Ozzy and Mildred's relationship for those 3 weeks exactly mirror Mildred and Tiff's original relationship versus Tiff and Sam, that is starkly different to their original relationship. The common denominator here is Mildred. The toxicity comes from her. The thesis of this video, what we're really here for, is to discuss whether or not, in retrospect, the ultimatum queer love was a mistake. And I really do feel like from what happens at the reunion and then everything that subsequently follows, it feels like it was. So at the reunion, everything is going pretty much according to plan. Things are happening the way reunions are supposed to go. We are hashing out, relationship issues couple by couple. Now, the host brings up a section talking about dogs, especially because, Tiff and Sam, their whole big fight. And the host asks Tiff, well, how is your dog? And Tiff brings up that, their dog's doing great now, but during the, holiday season, Christmas, their dog did need to get major surgery. And before we could even find out what was wrong with their dog, Mildred's on attack mode. Mildred's like, well, when was that? When was that? Your dog needed surgery? I just want to get my dates right. And immediately goes into drilling Tiff. Now, this whole situation told me that I would have to take everything that Mildred was saying with a grain of salt. Because the host hadn't even transitioned into Tiff and Mildred's relationship, but Tiff is already trying to get in front of the narrative. And getting in front of the narrative when you're in the wrong is very important. Mildred is aware of the fact that people aren't very smart. So when people are presented with two sides of the same story, they either A, go with the story they hold first, and that is what they now view as the truth, or they side with the person they believe is the most sympathetic. And I think Mildred is aware of the fact that the dynamics of the relationship, Mildred being the femme presenting one and Tiff being the more masculine presenting one, that she garners far more sympathy than Tiff, and that people are more likely to believe her over Tiff. And I think Mildred is aware of the fact that people have a very hard time looking at two things that are very similar and being able to dissect them and being able to pull apart and see what makes sense and what doesn't. that is a skill that not everyone possesses, especially when we're talking about, alleged abusive relationships like this. So now, from this point forward, Mildred is on attack mode, and she is attacking Tiff and not allowing Tiff the opportunity to defend themselves, to sit and think and form thoughts. Mildred is just hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting. A very great tactic for abusive people, to really frazzle your victim, to either make them seem unreliable or make them unable to answer questions, and then seem kind of crazy that like you've made these excuses but you can't even tell me why, when in actuality they're being drilled constantly, again and again and again. And not at one point does Mildred stop her attack, because she knows if she stops, it all falls apart. She knows that she needs to continue to push and push and push and not allow Tiff to speak. Because if Tiff speaks, it all falls apart. So Mildred hits on a couple points while drilling Tiff. Again, we are unable to hear Tiff's side in any of this. The only person that really speaks is Mildred. But one of the things that Mildred brings up is like the bills in the relationship. She states that Tiff tried to make her pay more because of her son. Her son is special needs, so if they were to be married, with how severe his is, she would be taking care of him for the rest of his life, or the rest of her life, because she, mothers can't live forever. But that was her alleging. But she was also saying that while they were living together, that, or well, at least insinuating that Tiff didn't have a job and that they were extremely dependent on them. That doesn't really make sense, because after she says that, she brings up the fact as like another point of contention that Tiff didn't want to make a joint account. And I've never been married, but I would not want to have a joint account with a partner that is financially dependent on me and doesn't work. Why would I want someone that isn't making, any money have access to my money? That doesn't really make sense to me and how my brain works. Brokey, we don't need an account together. That's just me. She also talks about the time when they were in that weird place of breaking up and not breaking up, and that she was trying to say that Tiff was cheating on them, but Tiff says, well, we were broken up. Even though we still had this home together, you had vacated the premise and we were no longer together. I am allowed to date, which Tiff is 100% allowed to date. If we're not together, I can go off and see other people. But Mildred is trying to paint Tiff as a cheater, saying that she found eyeliner at her home and she doesn't wear eyeliner. In Tiff's video, they state that both of them wear eyeliner. And I actually did go on Mildred's Instagram and I found a picture of her from like 2021 of her wearing eyeliner. So you wear it. I know you do, because she wears makeup. And not every makeup wearer constantly wears eyeliner. Like, I'm not wearing any eyeliner today, but I know how to use it and I wear it. It's really hard for me to believe that you do makeup, like you do your own makeup and you don't know how to do eyeliner. That's not believable. And again, Tiff states that they also wear eyeliner, as well as the fact that Mildred said that she found a sex game in Tiff's home, which we will touch back on the sex game thing a little bit later. And then Mildred offers this up for absolutely no reason, that Tiff had called the police on her and she got arrested. And she admits to picking up a heavy, she says it herself, heavy dog gate and throwing it at Tiff, which then caused Tiff to call the police, because you're not going to throw shit at me. You're not going to fucking do that. And then Mildred gets arrested. Now, if you was paying attention, Tiff says, oh, so now you're admitting that you actually threw the dog gate at me. You lied on the police report. And we don't even have the opportunity to, digest that because Mildred is steamrolling on to her next point. She knows how to be manipulative because she just said you lied on the police report and you don't even touch that? Don't even want to clear anything up. You just moving on to the next thing. You're not fucking slick. And then from that point, so this whole situation, Mildred is just throwing accusation after accusation after accusation at Tiff, not allowing them to breathe, not allowing them to defend themselves, which I feel like it was a great tactic. So I feel like if you're not very versed in abusive relationships and abuser tactics and like narcissists, this to you would seem almost normal and would paint, again, if you weren't versed in this topic, that Mildred was being abused by Tiff. And that Tiff didn't have a job, and that Tiff didn't want to connect with her special needs son, and that Tiff was cheating on them, that Tiff got them arrested. If you didn't know any better, you would easily fall for what Mildred is trying to do to Tiff. Because she did a phenomenal job at it at the time. Again, if you didn't know any better. And because it just got that bad, Tiff just walked out of the reunion. Which I fully understand. To sit there in a room full of people and be gaslit for what she tells us is 15 minutes with nobody jumping in to defend you. Fuck Yoli, you big-headed bitch. She had the audacity to be on... She had the actual audacity to try to back Mildred up in her bullshit. I get that's your homegirl, but you need to be aware of the fact that your friend's fucking abusive. So, like I mentioned earlier, Tiff released a video on Monday, giving their side because at the reunion, they were unable to do that. And we're gonna go through the points that they made in this video. So, before Tiff's video, the reunion was not a good look for Mildred. For people who have either been in an abusive relationship or can clock an abusive relationship, we could all see what Mildred was trying to do. So they were trying to clean it all up and release this video, like apologizing, sort of, kind of, not really, but saying that they were in an emotionally abusive relationship and this was just them lashing out. We will get to that. We will really delve into that bullshit that she was spewing. So in Tiff's video, they talk about the fact that while they were in the relationship with Mildred, they were really unable to see how actually toxic it was, which is very common for people in toxic relationships. I feel like when you're in the middle of it all, to you it seems normal, but to like your friends and family, they like, how are you living like this? This is an awful place to be. And you're like, what are you talking about? I'm in a loving relationship with this person I love so much and they love me, and everyone else is like, baby, you're a hostage. You are quite literally in a hostage situation. This is not a normal relationship. Tiff mentioned the fact that it is very normal for, in this type of situation, both partners to be toxic, but it's very uncommon for both partners to be abusive. Research shows that normally in toxic situations like this, only one partner is the abuser, and a lot of the times the other partner is reacting abusively to the abuse being dealt to them. Like in moments of physical abuse, one partner might be hitting one partner and then the other partner decides to react and hit back, lash out. That is not the proper way to handle things. You should try to get away, call authorities, call family, but we're talking about real people. You hit me, you'll end up singing in God's choir. You hit me, your mama will be sewing fish plates by the end of the week. But I'm also aware that's not what you're supposed to do. But it's much easier said than done to be like, your partner hits you, you're just supposed to get away and not fight them back. I feel like it's hard to, when you're in the middle of abuse, not to give it back, not to lash out, not to fight back, not to spit vitriol back. It's very hard to ask people to just leave. Leaving is so easy when it's not you. Tiff also talks about the fact that Mildred spent a lot of time shifting the blame, which is an abusive tactic, and that they would, the consistent breaking up, that Mildred was one breaking up with Tiff, and Mildred would curse Tiff out, call Tiff names, and then Tiff would be guilt tripped into believing that all of Mildred's behavior was their own fault. That if they were a better partner, Mildred would not be doing the things they're doing to them, which is completely untrue. You are not in control of your partner's behavior. If your partner decides to treat you like shit, that has absolutely nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. Going back to the night that Mildred got arrested, there is still an open DV case on Mildred, and Tiff had informed production about it. And I 100% believe that if this was a heterosexual relationship and Mildred was a man, Mildred would not have been on that stage. They wouldn't have been invited. But because not only is this a queer relationship, but the person enacting the violence is femme, and this femme person is enacting violence to someone who presents masculine, that is why everything that happened in the reunion was allowed to go down. Because people think it's completely fine for men and masculine presenting people to have violence enacted on them by women and femme presenting people. That the violence happening is less serious because it's a woman or a femme hitting a man or a masculine person. So Tiff informed the production about, the whole case, the whole DV case, and they told them that what they wanted was to not speak about it. And they were choosing to not speak about it in order to protect Mildred and her son. She was kind of afraid that if the whole domestic violence case got out, Mildred's son would be taken away. And as much as they have issues with Mildred, they do believe Mildred is a loving mother to her son and would hate to see them separated. Tiff goes back to the night of the alleged DV situation, and Mildred throws the heavy dog gate at them. They then call the police. Mildred then stops throwing things and hitting them and starts crying and saying that Tiff has now ruined their life, and now the police are gonna take her child from her, and that because she is not a US citizen, like a full one, she can get deported. And because of how much better care is for children with special needs in America than Mexico, they're not gonna allow her son to go to Mexico with her, and that her whole life is gonna fall apart. And somehow it's all Tiff's fault, not Mildred's fault for throwing a heavy dog gate at their partner, but Tiff's, because while they are being abused by their partner, they decide to call the authorities. You're blaming Mildred literally blamed the consequences of their own bad behavior on the victim in this situation. No one told you to pick up that cake and chuck it. You are not a quarterback. Why are you throwing things at people? And I don't think people understand, like, throwing things at your partner is a huge red flag. I don't care what you throw. I have all those little squishables and like squishmallows. You throw one of those at me, I don't care if that's super soft. While we're fighting, you throw something at me, soft, hard, it don't matter. You will never see me again. Because throwing things in a fit of anger is the biggest red flag. Now, in several, I think, like interviews and videos or whatever, Mildred has alleged that Tiff had called her a bad mom. And in this video, Tiff stands 10 toes down the fact that they indeed called Mildred a trash mother, because Mildred would emotionally abuse Tiff in front of her son, which is something a trash mom would do. So I fear the description fits, girl. Now, that first DV case took place in May of 2022, but they actually continued to date until September of 2022, when Mildred had physically abused Tiff in front of her son. And Tiff was like, the physical violence in front of her son was just the last straw. That was the last thing that they wanted to happen. Because again, even though Tiff is not, Mildred's parent, Tiff never wanted that child to be exposed to this type of abuse, especially the physical kind. Emotional and verbal is bad, but I do think seeing someone visibly getting hit and punched is a lot. And that was just kind of the line that Tiff was like, that was too far. Now let's move on to some of the things that Mildred was alleging in this rant on the reunion. The cheating. Again, I already kind of touched on the eyeliner. Tiff admits that both they and Mildred wear eyeliner, even though Mildred says that she doesn't. But like I said, I went to her Instagram and I found a picture from 2021 of her wearing eyeliner. Boo, you wear eyeliner. Now this sex game that she found, Tiff brings up the fact that after they broke up in October, they had bought a dating, like one of those little icebreaker card games from Amazon, which is what they believe Mildred is talking about now. Mildred admits to getting her hands on it and opening it, which means that she has just admitted to a felony crime. You cannot open people's mail, which is what Mildred just admitted on national television that she did. Not smart. Not smart. Now, back to the DV case. Like I mentioned, Mildred admits on television that she threw heavy objects at Tiff. Tiff shows the police report where Mildred lies and says that she didn't throw a gate at Tiff, that they tussled a little bit, but there was no throwing of heavy objects. This is a point that Tiff was trying to make at the reunion, but Mildred steamrolled them. Again, the whole finance situation, Tiff believes that Mildred was trying to make Tiff financially dependent on them as another form of control, which is why they were pushing to have the joint account the way they were. Because again, you don't want to have a joint account with somebody that has no money and is dependent on you. That doesn't make any sense unless you're trying to have complete control of the finances. Tiff also explains the fact that the 5 minutes of gaslighting that we saw on television actually went on closer to 15 to 20 minutes. And it is so disgusting to me that nobody did anything. Nobody did anything. You were sitting there watching someone be gaslit for 15 minutes and no one had the gall to interject. Except for fucking Yoli to be on Mildred's side, because Yoli is also a trash individual. I really wish the host did more. I think maybe the host was not prepared for something like this to happen. But you're the host. You need to take control of the situation and not let someone attack someone and verbally bash and gaslight them for 15 goddamn minutes. The producers of the show need to be ashamed of themselves. They treated DV and abuse like it was just fluff drama, when these are real people's lives. Tiff is very much so a victim in all of this, and you were able to platform their abuser and give them the opportunities, not just abuse and traumatize Tiff, but allow the audience who could see through Mildred's behavior and see their partners in Mildred. It is truly disgusting that they had all the information they had. They had the police report, and they still allowed Mildred to not only go on that stage, but berate Tiff for 15 uninterrupted minutes. And again, I fully believe they allowed this to happen because Mildred is a femme presenting woman. Because there is no way a man could have sat on national television and said that he had physically abused a woman and y'all have kept him on that fucking stage. I don't believe it. But because this is a lesbian relationship, and because Tiff is mask presenting, any violence enacted against them is fine. Because had it been Tiff that said they slapped the shit out of Mildred, everyone on that stage would have jumped down their throats. And it was so disgusting after this horrible display of abuse, forcing Tiff to leave, that people were asking Mildred if she was okay, if they could get her a glass of water, ask her how she's healing from this relationship. What is she healing from? She's caused all the drama. She's caused all the trauma. Tiff has to heal from her. It is just insane to me. And then seeing like the other cast members like talk about it, and they all seem so fucking spineless, minus Vanessa. That's the thing about these shows. The person who seems like the villain all season, when we get to the reunion, almost always gets like absolved, because we find out the true villain of the whole fucking show. Vanessa was the only one to say what Mildred was doing was fucked up. And that is crazy to me, that she's been the only one to really loudly be, I'm not gonna say just her, but because I haven't seen enough to just say it's just her, but to seemingly be the only one to be very vocally on Tiff's side. And Sam. Well, Sam is the only person that actually went out and chased Tiff to make sure Tiff was okay. Sam, Vanessa, MVPs. Those are real fucking people. Everyone else, goddamn sheep, spineless. Because there's no way you witnessed that and were somehow on Mildred's side. There's no way you did not see abuse 101 happening right in front of your eyes. It is truly disgusting that we had to sit there and watch someone be abused right in front of us. With no contention at all. But yeah, that's it for me. This was definitely a more heavy video. I had a lot of emotions because this is a topic I'm very passionate about, and it fucking gets to me. But yeah, that's it for me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave your thoughts and opinions, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.